did a program, house program yesterday, and so also it was supported by Sopan Prabhu. And so without further delay, he's going to speak on chapter 2, verse number 13 of Bhagavad Gita. Thank you, Sanjeev Prabhu. It's all yours. Did a program, house program yesterday.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, Prabhuji, for kind words. Okay, we start with invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanam Trimandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmnitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanu Sute Devi Parnamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Bhutale Srimate Mahavishnu Goswaminiti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Parcharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Narayana Namaskritya Narmam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Udirayet Nashtaprayashava Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavti Nashtaki Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Shri Gurudev ki Jai. So today we're going to discuss Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized, verse number 13. This is one of the first instruction and back to the basics that we are not body, we are spirit soul. So I will recite the verse and read word to word synonym, translation and purport, and then we further discuss. Dehino asmin yatha dehe Komaram yovanam jara Tatha dehantara prapti Dhirastatra namuyate Dehino asmin yatha dehe Kaumaram Yovanam Jara Tatha Dehantara Prapti Dhirastatra Namuyati Dehino Asmin Yatha Dehe Kaumaram Yovanam Jara Tatha Dehantara Prapti Dhirastatra Namuyati. Jai. Word towards Snonam, translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Dehinaha, of the embodied, Asmin, in this, Yatha, as, Dehe, in the body, Komaram, boyhood, Yovanam, youth, Jara, old age, Tatha, similarly, Dehantara, of transference of the body, Praptihi, achievement, Dhiraha, the sober, Tatra, thereupon, Na, never, Muyati is deluded. So, of the embodied in this, as in the body, boyhood, youth, old age, similarly, of transference of the body, achievement, the sober, thereupon never is deluded. Translation: as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So, from the translation, we can understand that the instruction given by Lord is that the soul that continuously passes through the different stages of the body, from boyhood to youth to old age, and similarly, when the body is really old and is at the time of death, it changes to another body. So, but sober person not bewildered by such a change. So, we'll discuss further whose sober person is. Purport. Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body. And since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual, there was no cause for lamentation by Arjuna on account of death, neither for Bhishma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. Rather, he should rejoice for their changing bodies from old to new ones, thereby rejuvenating their energy. Such changes of body account for varieties of enjoyment or suffering according to one's work in life. So Bhishma and Drona, being noble souls, were surely going to have spiritual bodies in the next life, or at least life in heavenly bodies for superior enjoyment of material existence. So in either case, there was no cause of lamentation. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the super soul and nature, both material and spiritual, is called a dhira, or a most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by the change of bodies. The Mayavadi's theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained on the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portion. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the supreme cleavable or changeable, against the principle of the supreme souls being unchangeable. As confirmed in Gita, the fragmental portion of the Supreme exist eternally, Sanatana, and are called Kshara. That is, they have a tendency to fall down into material nature. These fragmental portions are eternally so, and even after liberation, the individual soul remains the same, fragmental. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life in bliss and knowledge with the personality of Godhead. The theory of reflection can be applied to the super soul who is present in each and every individual body and is known as the Paramatma. He is different from the individual living entity. When the sky is reflected in water, the reflections represent both the sun and the moon and the stars also. The stars can be compared to the living entities and the sun or moon to the Supreme Lord. The individual fragmental spirit soul is represented by Arjuna, and the Supreme Soul is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. They are not on the same level, as it will be apparent in the beginning of the 4th chapter. If Arjuna is on the same level with Krishna and Krishna is not superior to Arjuna, then their relationship of instructor and instructed becomes meaningless. If both of them are deluded by the illusory energy, then there is no need of one being the instructor and the other the instructed. Such instructions would be useless because in the clutches of Maya, no one can be an authoritative instructor. Under the circumstances, it is admitted that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, superior in position to the living entity, Arjuna, who is a forgetful soul deluded by Maya. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Srila Prabhupada explained few points in his purport. So the first instruction is that, and this is the ABCD of the spirituality, that we are spirit souls. We are not this body. So in Srila Prabhupada, I was listening one of the lecture of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada explaining that karmis, nanis, and yogis, although nanis and yogis are a little bit elevated, but they all three are on bodily platform. So the bodily and how they are bodily platform. So karmis we can understand is totally materialistic person who only works for sense gratification, and just to satisfy his senses, he motivated to work or do anything. But and we can understand he's on bodily platform. And nanis because they try to find self by negating, like speculation, mental speculation, neti. And yogis, they also do bodily exercises to control the senses. So all three, the center of process is body, and and the body platform is no better than animal life, because when we see animal, they only conscious of their own body and demands of the body. They work or motivated to work on the demand of, because when you are on bodily platform, the necessity of life dominates. So when we are bodily platform, then we are no better than anyone. And in this regard, Srila Prabhupada gives an example of a stool that not here, but Western world, in India, people pass the stools in fields and all that. So if you see a stool and after a few days it gets dry, and and if somebody, and it's still moist in inside, so if somebody say, oh, outside is the dry, it's a good, it's, it's good, but stool is stool, so you can't say that it's good or bad. So although the nanis and the yogis are a little bit elevated than karmis, but the center of process is both. So that's why we have to go beyond. We have to understand what's the bodily platform and what's the mental speculation is, and what is the real spirituality is. Because the meaning of spirituality doesn't mean that we do different processes of um, gymnastic process, yoga, or any other follow any other process. Because spirituality is clearly not material, it's beyond material. And to understand that, we need to become dhira. So but first we understand what the bodily platform is, and how we can read in the translation that Krishna said that the soul changes the body from boyhood to youth to old age, and finally at the death. So in India, Prabhupada explained that a lot of philosophy is cultivated, like Charvak, Buddhist, impersonalist, personalist. All sorts of philosophies are there, and they've been cultivated for years. So Charvak particularly, they are like atheists. Their philosophy is eat and enjoy senses, and the tongue is the main sense. So there are two functions of the tongue: vibrate and taste. Vibrate and taste. So taste, like we like to taste different palatable foods, and nowadays a lot of intoxications and meat and different kinds of foods. But and for the vibrating, we would like to talk mundane things like political talks, economical talks, and all the mundane matters. But these two functions, if we employ these functions in Krishna's service, then that's change our lives. That will control this sense, and this the hard to control the sense is the tongue. So I would like to give a reference in the Nectar of Instruction. From Nectar of Instruction, the first verse is I will read it in the translation. Vacho vegam manasah krodha vegam jivha vegam udruprastha vegam etan vegan yo vishaheta dhiraha sarvam api mam prithvim sashishya. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So here also in this verse we can find the word dhira, a sober person, and urges to speak. So the first function that we just talked about, the vibrate, the tongues like to vibrate at different mundane matters, and that is a urge that when we want to speak, and actually it's called parjalpa when we talk about mundane matters, and this parjalpa is a very strong urge that hard to control, and here it says we should tolerate it. And then there is a mind's demand. So mind demands. So mind says do this, do that, do that. So mind's demands. And action of angers. So in anger we do actions. Like we are really angry, we wanted to either break something or do something that we regret later, that we should not have done that. And and again it comes urges of tongue, and this urge of tongue is to taste different foods: tongue, belly, and genitals. So you see these three are in one line. So if we control tongue, then the belly and genitals automatically comes under control, because then we can control our food, what we take and what we don't take. And people nowadays try to lose weight and and do a lot of other things, try to follow diets. But if we follow this principle that we only take the remnants of Lord Krishna's offering, prasadam, then we can easily control our tongue. But it's the principle that we have to follow, or all this instruction we have to follow, and then the belly and the genitals automatically comes under control. So so from this verse we can understand that there are some urges. These are the urges of our senses that we have to control. And further, that we have this body and we have senses. So now our senses, we have around four defects. Our sense is not perfect, and we are illusioned, and we sure to commit mistakes, and we have propensity to cheat. So as our sense is not perfect, so we can't receive, or we can't get the perfect knowledge through our senses. Even materially, we can't have perfect knowledge. So we need the help of other instruments, other machines to acquire knowledge. So what to speak of the spiritual knowledge? So for the spiritual knowledge, we have to turn to the scriptures, revealed scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhāgavatam. Because with our blunt senses, as Prabhupada said, we have blunt senses. With the blunt senses, we can't acquire perfect knowledge. So we talked about the tongue. Tongue is the main sense to control. And there is another verse of Prabhupada also mentioned, that's in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse number 234. That's about how to employ our tongue into the service of Krishna. I quickly read that. Attaha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahayam indriyahe sevona mukhehi jivahado savayam eva safurti adaha. Translation: because Krishna's form, qualities, pastimes, etc. are all on the absolute platform, material senses cannot therefore appreciate them. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. So the word here is the sevon mukhe, he jivhao do. So we have to employ our tongue in two manners: to chant the holy name of the Lord and taste the prasadam, the remnants food stuff offering to the Lord. So in these two ways we can employ our senses, our tongue, the chief sense. So, and from there we can control our senses. And because the body changes all the time, and so we have different different stages to go through, like boyhood to youth to old age. So if we only the bodily if we are only on the bodily platform, we won't be able to. We only we suffer more because we don't have any other conception of life. And when we talk about that body changes after death, because when the death comes, so people don't want to talk about death. That's the main reason, because they don't have any other conception of life, and they only take this life all in all. And but with the Bhagavad Gita, in the revealed scriptures, we can find this knowledge that this life is not just one life. We have to go through the different life. It's a circle. It's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. Birth and death. Birth and death. So in this regard, okay, so we at the death we change body. So how we get another body? And there must be some ways that we're getting another body, because so this is to further explained in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 9 verse 25, where Lord talking about to journey to the other planets, like if people worship demigods. And I'll just quickly read that also. Yanti devrata devan pitrin yanti pitra vrataha bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti madhyajno apimam. Translation: those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. So here we can understand that to go to the other planets and to go to the there is a process that if you want to worship worship demigods, like we are in Indian background, so we know a lot of demigods being worshipped, and especially now as Navratri is going on. So we have Ganesha, Shiva, and a lot of other demigods. So if you worship demigods, you can go to their planets easily. There are some prescribed karma kand methods also, that if you perform those karma kands, then you go to transfer to like moon planet and other planets. But if you worship Pitri means the forefathers, then they also have a Pitri lok. So you go to Pitri lok. And some people worship ghosts and spirits, and these called the black magic. And if you worship them, then you go to their planet. But in the end, Lord said that if you worship me, you will live with me. So there is a spiritual world where Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. So we can go there if we follow the process. And yes, so, but again, it doesn't say that how we transfer it to the other planets or how we transfer. So further, if we read chapter 15, verse 8, in there, Lord said about this, how we transfer it to the other bodies, like with the subtle body, because we have two bodies. One is the gross body and one is the subtle body. So like here in this verse, we can see the body changes. That is our gross body changes from boyhood to youth to old age. But our subtle body is called Sukshama Sharir. Suksham means very subtle, that is in energy form. We can't see it because it's made of three main components: mind, intelligence, and false ego. So that energy form consists of that subtle body. So we read this 15.8. Shariram yad avapnoti yachhapi kramat tishwaraha grihitva tani samyati vayur gandhan ivashayat. Translation: the living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aroma. Thus, he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. So, like aroma carries, the air carries aroma. That's how we carries our different conception of life, right? Because our subtle body made of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So we have mind is a storehouse. So it records, it stores every dislikes, likes, and different desires, and all that conceptions we carry forward. And on those conceptions, we get another body. In the last paragraph of the purport, Prabhupada says that it is stated here that the subtle body, which carries the conception of the next body, develops another body in the next life. This process of transmigrating from one body to another and struggling while in the body is called karshati, or struggle for existence. So here Prabhupada clearly explains that the subtle body carries the conception of different conception to the next body and develops the next body. And this process called transmigrating. So the death is not nothing more than transmigrating. So we transmigrate from one body to another body. That body can be anything, because we got 8.4 million species. It can be animal body, it can be demigod's body, because we carry different conceptions of life and likes and dislikes in our and desires in our life. So but and same time we can get a spiritual body also if we are if we cultivate this culture of spirituality in our life. So so this body is changing. We can understand that, and we studied about the subtle body also, that how the subtle body carries us into different gross bodies. Now what is this that subtle body carries? Is it's a soul. Well, it's a soul. It says Krishna says the embodied soul. So that, because when the child take birth, we give him or give her a name, and that name is given to the person or the personality in the body. Because when the child grows up in youth, we don't change the name, or grows up to old, we don't change the name. Name remains the same. So it's a person. So person inside the body, that and the personality. So that so that personality or that consciousness or that person is called soul or spirit. Now the spirit, if we want, this from this verse onward, Lord Krishna talks about spirit, soul, and the verse number 17, Lord talks about particularly about this spirit soul, that avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvidam tatam vinasham avvaya syasya na kaschit kritum arhati. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So the soul is inside the body, and is the consciousness pervades all over the body. And in the purport, Prabhupada gives a couple of references where Prabhupada talks about what's the size of the soul. In Svetashvara Upanishad, it says that the Balagra satbhagasya satadha kalpitasya cha bhago jiva savinnyaha sa chanantaya kalpate. When the upper point of the hair is divided into 100 parts, and again each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. So the spirit soul is the one, 10,000th part of the upper portion of the point of the hair. So you can see it's very, very minute, very, very small. We can't even see with our machines. And plus, it's not made of material elements. So we can't even see anyway. Anything spiritual we can't see with material instruments. So the measurement is given in the Shastras, and in the purport also, I would like to read just only one paragraph, that according to Mundaka Upanishad, this atomic soul is situated in the heart. So that is the seat of the spirit soul inside the body. That the body changes, but that seat remains the same. So of every living being. And because the measurement of the atomic soul is beyond the power of appreciation of the material scientists, some of them assert foolishly that there is no soul, because the soul can't be perceived by material instruments. So scientists, the modern science, they deny the existence of soul. The corpuscles which carries the oxygen from the lungs gather energy from the soul. When the soul passes away from this position, the activity of the blood generating fusion ceases. Medical science accepts the importance of the red corpuscles, but it cannot ascertain that the source of the energy is the soul. Medical science, however, does admit that the heart is the seat of all energies of the body. So they also admit that the heart is the center of the energy where everything coming from. But again, because of the no information of spirituality or no realization of spirituality, they deny the existence of spirit soul, because spirit soul is not material. It's a totally spiritual. It's a part and parcel of the Lord. So yeah, we can see that how the spirit soul, where the spirit soul is situated in the body, and how the spirit soul carries transfer or transmigrate from one gross body to another body by subtle body, and how this gross body changes according to the time or according to the growth in any species, not just in human. Other species also is changes from birth to youth to old age. So in this, when we're talking about this, the last reference I want to give in the Srimad Bhāgavatam is the canto number. It's a canto 3. I would like to read only 3 translations of 3 verses. It's canto 3, chapter 31, verse number 1 to 3. Translation goes like this. The personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of Supreme Lord and according to the result of his word, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. The second one, on the first night, the sperm and ovum mix, and on the 5th night, the mixture ferments into a bubble. On the 10th night, it develops into a form like a plum, and after that, it gradually turns into a lump of flesh or an egg, as the case may be. And the third one, in the course of a month, a head is formed, and at the end of 2 months, the hands, feet, and other limbs take shape. By the end of 3 months, the nails, fingers, toes, body, hair, bones, and skin appears, as do the organ of generation and the other apertures in the body, namely the eyes, nostril, ears, mouth, and anus. And the fourth one also relevant to this. Within 4 months from the date of conception, the seven essential ingredients of the body, namely child, blood, flesh, fat, bone, marrow, and semen, come into existence. At the end of 5 months, hunger and thirst make themselves felt, and at the end of 6 months, the fetus enclosed by amnion begins to move on the right side of the abdomen. So, from these verses, we can understand that the soul enters into the womb of mother, and that very instance um, is the soul present in the womb, not like modern times or modern science or doctors. They say that before 3 months they are happy to do abortion because they can't they think that the soul is not there or it's not a person. It's same like killing a person, doing abortion, because the soul is there. Without soul it can't grow, it can't conceive. It's the embryos only grows if the soul is there. So in from these verses we can understand that the soul enters the womb and then it starts to grow, and in 4 months all the holes and everything in the body develops, and by the time of 7 months is fully grown, and by the time of 9 months it's ready to come out. And then we can see that the age from when it take birth to first 15 years is a komaram age. It's a boyhood. And then from 16 to 40 is the youth, is a young age. And from 40 onwards the person starts getting old. So that's how the body try to form in the womb and comes out and changes and goes through a lot of changes, and in the end death. And after death it transmigrate to other bodies according to the conception of life in the help of subtle body. So this is how we can understand this whole process, that the spirit soul, although all these changes, the spirit soul remains the same, and it's just because the spirit soul knows made of not made of material elements, but still is trapped in this vicious circle. And spirit soul, like a current, like a consciousness, comes from spirit soul, that whole body we can feel. If somebody pinch anywhere in the body, we can feel that current or feel that pinch. So this is a consciousness. Now this is the first the main the one part of this verse. The second part is the dhira part, where we can understand that dhira person not bewildered by such change. So who is dhira? Srila Prabhupada gives the translation as a sober person. So sober person means, generally when we talk in our mundane things, sober is that who is not intoxicated. Means people are getting drunk and everything. We say somebody who's not drinking, we tell him that he's a sober person. So sober person is that who's not intoxicated. So I realized that there are a lot of intoxications, whether, well, we don't drink or alcohol or anything like that, but there are still more intoxications that we are under their influence, like bodily conception of life, mental speculation, illusioned by this today's godless civilization, because everything around us force us to believe that we are this body. It's a culture of knee science, because in this culture, everything, all the TV, internet, politicians, teachers, everything, because there is no conception of spirituality. So we are forced to believe that we are this body, and we have to satisfy our senses, because our senses, the necessity of life dominates, and we go after these demands to fulfill our senses demands. And this is the biggest illusion we're living in. And top of that, the different we have different philosophies, like on the name of spirituality, like Mayavad, impersonalism, or New Age pseudo spiritualists, like they talk about mind, body, and soul, and different things. They call them New Age. So already we are in a culture of knee science, and on the name of the spirituality, we got these different conceptions. So it's a lot of confusion, and if we are not dhira, we won't understand, and that's why people don't want to take interest. Religion is like a bad word nowadays. People say, I'm not religious, I'm a spiritualist, because they don't want to associate with something that been so much of exploited in a bad way. And spiritual, when we are spiritualist, they don't know the ABCD of spiritualism, because spiritualism starts only when you understand that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. Then you can start thinking about it, or start realizing that what is spirit soul, or what is spiritualism, and how we can become dhira. As we studied, that dhira is the person, because in that purport, Srila Prabhupada gives another very good example of the dhira. Who is dhira? Dhira is the, I'll just read that. That who understand the, who understand the position of the soul, and let's call the constitutional position. So if we understand our constitutional position, and that we are spirit soul, then we can act accordingly. And if we even don't know who we are and what we're doing here, because if a diseased person do not recognize his disease, how he can sort of, or look for the cure? Because he will think that I'm not diseased. That's what's happening to us. We're thinking, we don't know even we are suffering, and that's why we don't look for anything, any solution for it. And now this is all very well that we understand this, that what is our constitutional position and what's the body's position. But once we understand that, it doesn't mean that the modes of material nature stop working on us. It's not like all of a sudden when we realize or understand that, okay, we're not this body, we are spirit soul, we stop getting diseases, we stop feeling suffering, or we stop feeling any sadness. No, everything still affect us. All the modes still affects on our body. As so long we have this material body, the material modes, the three modes of material nature, going to affect us. But the main thing is to tolerate them. That is the step to become a dhira. When we tolerate the urges of our senses, and we come out of this, we fall into the modes, but we come out again and carry on our devotional service. That is the main function of to become a dhira, because only dhira person can understand these things. When we are so much intoxicated with so much illusion, we can't even we can't even understand a straight forward or simple thing. We just illusion. We totally believe something else, but it's not reality. So that's what I understand from this verse. If you have any questions, please. I can try my best to answer them.
Thank you, Sanjeev Prabhu. Hare Krishna, for your nice realizations and for a nice class.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Very nice. Now we've got 5 minutes. If anyone has to say anything, or even if your realizations, please feel free to direct it to him. Looks like you explained very nicely, Sanjeev Prabhu. There are no questions.
Tried, Prabhuji. I got references from Srila Prabhupada. I'm just repeating what Srila Prabhupada is said.
Good. Very nice. Okay, we'll wait for a few more seconds. If anyone has to say anything, please. Well, okay then. Thank you very much, Sanjeev Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
We complete our finish our today's first session on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 13. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara prapti dhirasvatana muhyati. Hare Krishna. And now I request Krishnadas to sing Jai Radha Madhava, please.